Let's talk about Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. We have this story from the New York Post. Trump talks about Putin mocking Merkel and more at Mar-a-Lago. Boy, did they bury the lead on this one. The story is about Donald Trump threatening to hit the capitals of Russia and China. These are bold statements. So you want to know why? Why is it that Vladimir Putin did not invade Ukraine under Trump? There's this top post on Reddit where they're like, because Russia put bounties on soldiers in Afghanistan and Trump didn't even do anything about it. The story was fake.
Yeah.
And so this is what they believe. No. Let me show you exactly what it is. I will scroll down and give you this. There are several other stories making the rounds too. This is from the article, and they are even more provocative. One has it that Trump, noting that Putin seized land from Georgia when George W. Bush was president and seized the Crimean Peninsula when Barack Obama was president, warned Putin against a land grab on his watch. If you move against Ukraine while I'm president, I will hit Moscow. Woo. Putin reportedly scoffed, "No way." And Trump said all those beautiful golden turrets will be blown up. Amazing. He reportedly said the same thing to Xi Jinping, that if he made a move against Taiwan, it would be met with an attack on Beijing. Wow. Xi, like Putin, is said to have been stunned. Though it's possible neither man believed Trump was serious. I kind of don't like the idea of bombing civilian targets immediately as soon as a regional war happens. But let it be said, Trump was called a madman by his enemies and his supporters. So, and I just want to say, I don't believe Trump would bomb civilians. I mean, he's the guy who said we're calling off the airstrike on Iran because it would be too many people would die. Yeah. But Trump is notorious for the big ask. He exaggerates his position and then pulls back to a more reasonable spot. That's what he does. He says, "I'll buy that. I'll if I'm doing the job, I want $1 million." And they say, "Oh, $1 million? That's crazy. Okay, how about $500,000?" Mm-hmm. Now he's getting you to $500,000. In this instance, he goes to Moscow. He goes to Putin. If you invade Ukraine, I will hit Moscow. And Putin's like, no. And Trump's like, yes.
Try me.
And Putin's like, okay. Maybe this guy's a little off his,
And they know that he'll be out in 4 years. They know that the American democracy or republicanism works like that. So
Putin was like, let the, hold, like the Braveheart meme, hold. And then Biden comes in, he's like, we good.
Yeah. Well, and nobody thinks, I mean, again, this is also, some people think that diplomacy works with everybody because they honestly believe that, well, if we all just sat around the room and we talked and we understood one another, like, I can't remember who it was that said that, Israel and Gaza understand each other.
Oh, they do.
Right? Yeah, they don't like what,
sure do.
So this idea that if we just had a better conversation, I think we'd be fine. No, when you're dealing with people that are either dictatorial or quasi-authoritarian or whatnot, what they respect is strength. And that strength has to be backed up with the, first of all, the capability to do it. Could you actually make good on these promises? They all know we could. And then it's the idea of, would he actually do this? And even if they don't think he would, the bottom line is that there's a part of him like, damn, he might actually do it. That is the sort of stuff that can stop a war from ever taking place in the first place and can check aggression. You have to have the capability and the willingness, and you have to be able to negotiate in a way that your enemies don't know what you're going to do, but know that the wildest crap is still on the table.
You ever play poker at all?
A little bit, not very good.
Sometimes, so when you
only with my life.
No. When you're playing Hold'em against somebody who doesn't know how to play poker, there's a certain advantage they have in that it's hard to know what they're doing because they're erratic. All over the place.
Oh yeah.
So I remember when I first, I was like 20, I played a game of poker. I had 2-7 offsuit, and I went all in on it, and I got a full house.
Oh wow!
And I beat a guy who had ace king. It was a good hand, and he ended up losing, thinking you can't have anything. But like I got ace king, and I think he ended up with I don't know. I don't think he had anything. Yeah. But I ended up winning, and he got angry. He was like, "Why did you?" I'm like, "Oh, I won, didn't I?"
Oh, I have lost more hands with pocket aces than like.
That's right, because you're like it's a fantastic. It's one of the best hands to go in on
pre-flop.
Pre-flop, right? Maybe ace king suited. But anyway, the point is with Donald Trump, Putin's like, I don't think he'll bomb Moscow, but I also don't know if he knows what he's doing either. Yeah. I don't know how he'll respond.
That's fair.
How can you make a plan for war? What Sun Tzu said, win the war before you actually start it. How could you plan against a man like Trump? Mm-hmm. He was like, look, we're going to wait a few years because I don't know what this guy's doing.
Well, and he was the other thing too that I think shocked a lot of people, and one of the things that impressed me most about Trump is how reserved he actually was in foreign policy when it came to actually deploying people into harm's way to get shot at. Right? There's a lot of other, again, Joe Biden, the whole Teddy Roosevelt thing, right? Walk softly, carry a big stick. Joe Biden mumbles and carries no stick. And once people get used to that idea, then they know they can walk all over you. And it doesn't matter what your capability is because you don't have the willingness to use it.
Yep.
Now, whereas Trump had the capability, again, he was actually a lot more reserved. When that whole thing happened in Iran, and it was, no, we're not going to do this because I'm not going to, one, it's immoral to kill a bunch of people that had nothing to do with any of this. Two, it doesn't make sense on a practical level to keep, to create a bunch of enemies off of killing civilians. But when it came to Syria, and then there was a legitimate thing to strike, like he struck hard. He was in there quick. He didn't have any, aspirations to like remake Syria. It was just.
This is the weirdest thing about the whole argument about Trump and why Putin didn't attack, because they're acting like Trump was favorable to Russia. And I guess in some ways you can argue Trump's disdain for NATO, but Trump's disdain for NATO, there's a video going around of Trump sitting at a meeting table with them saying, why are we paying for your defense against Russia, and then you're negotiating billion-dollar gas deals, making you dependent on Russia?
Thank you.
It was not helping Russia that Trump sanctioned Nord Stream 2. Joe Biden, May 2021, lifted the sanctions on Nord Stream 2, and all of us were like, why?
What are you doing?
As he was shutting down the Keystone Pipeline.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And then it was appeasement. Is that what it was? The idea was, well, if we give him a little, then we can take it away if he does bad. And it's like, he's got nothing to lose then.
Yeah.
He's like, you gave me free stuff so I can invade anyway and lose what I already didn't have. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then he did.
Yeah.
Putin did.
Well, and he also, again, it's this idea. It's incredible to me that there's this honest belief that anybody's capable of sitting down at the table and no, you have completely different objectives. You have completely different worldviews. You have completely different capabilities, interests, etc. Now, that's not to say that you still can't have a productive conversation with someone, engage in effective diplomacy. But effective diplomacy only takes place when people actually believe that there will be consequences for their actions if they go against you. And
I think, I wonder about Vladimir Putin's frame of mind, but I do know we talk a lot about Strauss generational theory. You're familiar with it? Fourth turning. Hard times make strong men.
Yeah.
I think about the motivations of Vladimir Putin. He wants Russian greatness. He wants that empire back. And he knows, you know what? Maybe things will get worse off for the people of Russia, but that will be good for them spiritually in the long run. I'm not saying it literally will. I'm saying that's his mentality.
Yeah.
And so his idea is, look, we go to war. We are more willing, have less to lose than these Western nations. And it will harden up our people a little bit. In the long run, maybe he thinks he's planting some seeds.
What I don't understand, maybe I'm playing devil's advocate. America took Iraq, Russia takes Ukraine, China takes Taiwan, then we're done with it. Can we just be done with it and move on?
I don't. Can we trade Iraq for?
Yeah, I would love to trade Iraq
Greenland.
for maybe no conquest. How about that?
Yeah,
Greenland's going to be super valuable in the 21st century.
Greenland.
And beyond.
How about this? We Russia, you can have Ukraine.
Who's going to get Greenland? It's Denmark, isn't
China
it?
can have
Denmark
Taiwan.
has it. Yeah.
The Kingdom of Denmark.
Yeah.
Talk about get
Greenland.
an ally early, because
Yeah.
in 100 years they're going to be mega powerful.
'Cause
Unless someone
it's gonna melt?
seizes. Yeah, it's going to melt, and it's going to be so much oil and lithium. And
We have
Beachfront
Alaska.
property,
We
Yeah.
have Alaska.
Yeah.
we do have Alaska. We conquered
but-
it, didn't we?
No, we bought it.
We bought it. We
Yeah.
conquered
Seward,
Hawaii.
Senator Seward. Yeah, we conquered Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there like 10 years ago, I think it was, a bunch of Native Hawaiians stormed like the state building and occupied it or something?
Oh,
Yeah, they
Oh,
still
really?
get pissed
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
A lot of the islanders.
Well,
do.
yeah, they're like, we had a king, like America came and took it. Well, America wanted a Pacific, military operation.
It looks like Putin wants the Black Sea. He wants to control the Black Sea.
Well, okay, so this is what I think is interesting. I was talking to a buddy of mine, Christian, who works with us, really good historian, and he's done a lot of research on what's going on in the Ukraine. And we were talking about, okay, what are some of the possible angles here, right? Because the most obvious one is, all right, Crimea used to be part of Russia. It actually got worked into the border with Ukraine after Nikita Khrushchev shut down the insurgency that the Ukrainians had launched against the Soviet Union, right? Crimea went from the Russian SSR over to the Ukrainian SSR. It was like, well, it's not a big deal. We're all the USSR.
Right.
Well, when you have the breakaway republics, now all of a sudden you have these areas which ethnically, culturally, you could even argue historically, are more Russian that are now not part of that. So, okay, again, if you're looking for casus belli, you could say maybe he's interested in getting back parts of Russia that he thinks always belonged to Russia and want to be Russian anyways. But as I look at the Black Sea, and as I look at the Belt and Road Initiative by China, and I look at what they're trying to do with respect to their overland trade, I have a feeling that the more access you have to the Caspian Sea, the more access you have to the Black Sea, the more important that that's going to be from a trade and economic perspective. Not to mention the fact that if he gets away with doing this in Ukraine, who the hell is going to stop him when it comes to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan?
Oh, absolutely.
And now we're talking about minerals. We're talking about overland routes. We're talking about natural gas. Who's going to stop him then?
And look at the strategy he's using. Donald Trump called it genius, savvy. And the media CNN actually ran an article saying Trump sides with Putin.
Oh my God.
Trump said it was a genius move. It was savvy and it wouldn't have happened under me. It's sad. So I don't think that's siding with Putin. I think he's like, you mentioned
acknowledging that your enemy is a genius can be very good to defeat your enemy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned, in war at the negotiating table, people will only respect power. Mm-hmm. Respect, often people conflate some words with positivity, like greatness, excitement, or respect. You can respect someone and despise them.
Oh, yeah.
You can be excited and in despair.
Not happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excitation.
You can be a great man and pure evil.
Genghis Khan.
Great is just
maybe not
of
evil,
magnitude.
was he evil?
Yes.
Probably.
But we often view greatness in a positive way. Like he was a great man. It's like that could just mean a powerful man.
A conqueror.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and
Alexander the Great.
and when it's funny too, you would think the same left that when Trump said "Make America Great Again," and they all came out with their little head, "Well, make America good again." It's like, okay, so you get that there's a difference, right. between the two, and then when he comes out and says, "Yeah, this was a genius move on his part for these reasons," it can be genius and bad.
What was he referencing when he said it was genius specifically?
So Vladimir Putin says, "Oh, look, these regions are independent. I'm going to send in a peacekeeping force to keep the peace." And Trump was actually being sarcastic. He was like, "Oh, yeah, peacekeeping force. Well, look at all those tanks. That's a peacekeeping force."
Yeah.
And they're like, he's siding with Putin. He was being sarcastic.
Yeah.
But it was a clever move for Putin to be like, well, they're independent, so we can go help them. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, that's how you win a war without
Castle's
before it
belly.
begins, basically.
Yeah. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.